Mark Schaefer wrote in a very insightful article on content marketers and how they're constantly pushing people to adopt a content marketing is for all type of strategy. Mark takes them to task and also talks about other things in this article that Jack and I are going to debate today. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the show. Today I have joining us Jack Kosakowski. How are you, Jack?
I'm great, Mr. Fidelman.
So Mark Schaefer wrote an article today, I think it was today, about content marketing and how there's all these gurus that you love, Jack. They're out there proclaiming content marketing is the panacea for all of your marketing problems and that every company should be using it. Now, Mark doesn't believe that, and I don't think you believe that, but I don't want to speak for you. What's your position on it?
To say that one thing works for all businesses is absolutely absurd. I think it kind of tells you the depth and maybe the frustration that I have with all these gurus is I don't think they understand business a lot of times, because it's not that I don't think I know they don't, because of the way that they talk. There's nothing in business that's a one-size-fits-all strategy, first of all. And most companies are struggling just to do the basics. I mean, how many companies do you have right now that are still using MailChimp to drive their email campaigns? I mean, if that's the case, they've got to fix some of the basic problems of their marketing first, and then worry about going more the high level, in-depth content marketing stuff.
So all these people proclaiming Snapchat, that every business should be using Snapchat, are they wrong then?
Well, here's what I always laugh about. If you haven't figured out Twitter or LinkedIn and you're in business, don't worry about Snapchat. Figure out the ones that are already proven, social proof. I heard that today. Social proof has to happen. If you're going to put money, resources, and time into your marketing, you have to know that it works. You have to see that other companies are doing it. Unless you have a big budget, enterprise companies that can go out and just, drop dimes to get the competitive advantage early. That's a whole different conversation. But most SMB, especially mid-market, they don't have the dollars and the cents to go out and roll the dice to not know if they're going to get results long term.
Well, let's get back to Schaefer's article, because I think you and I kind of agreed that what he said was accurate. I want to play devil's advocate, though, and just kind of attack Schaefer's analysis a little bit. And I may or may not disagree with some of these points, but I feel like every article that is put out there should be attacked on its merits to see what flushes out. So Schaefer essentially says that if you're a friend of his, he's got a friend that has a steel company, and that there's no reason why he should spend money on content marketing. First of all, do you agree with it?
Absolutely. I mean, business is changing. I mean, a lot of these, especially older laggard companies, they have so many things they have to fix first that content is, there's no way they would even have the time, budget, or resources in the first place, but they don't even have the right things in place to get any ROI from content, even if they did content right.
Well, what if the steel company, though, took questions that they get all the time from people that are buying their steel, and they made a video out of it. So all the objections that the salespeople have, they made a video out of it, and they just distributed it to their potential customers or prospective customers via email. Wouldn't that be a content marketing strategy that might work even in an old traditional industry like steel?
I mean, it's a solid argument, but the problem is, are they doing any email, right? I mean, a lot of these companies aren't even doing email.
Really? The steel companies aren't doing email?
There's so many.
How are they communicating? Smoke signals?
Well, I'm talking about email marketing campaigns. Now, I don't, technically, I wouldn't look at that, in my opinion, as content marketing. I don't look at content marketing as, fixing something for a business problem and then putting it out there to your customers, right? I look at content marketing as something that you're using and leveraging long term to bring inbound business into your organization. So I guess we would have to define what you think is content marketing, right? I wouldn't look at that as content marketing. I'd look at that as just doing business in 2016.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, could you do it beyond the objections? Probably not. And if you look at the social channels that people that are buying steel are on, it's probably non-existent, with the exception of Facebook, but even that's going to be personal. I can't imagine they're transacting business on any social channel that's out there. But so from your perspective then, content marketing wouldn't work for a steel company, just by the
I don't think it wouldn't work. But what I'm saying is that if you want to do content marketing right, you've got to have a really solid strategy. It's got to be a long-term strategy, and then you've got to have the processes and the technologies behind it so that you can effectively take the content and turn it to dollars, right? Because what most organizations are doing is they're creating content, they're putting it out on social, they're putting it out. That to me is not content marketing, because they only can look at the vanity views or the vanity metrics from that content. And most of the time, they don't have the visibility into what that content's doing to actually ever drive revenue, right? In my opinion, a content marketing program has a budget, has a timeline, a really, really high-level strategy and process behind it, and the biggest thing it has is it has data and analytics so that it can be optimized and drive long-term revenue.
Okay, so what would be the top 2 or 3 things that you'd recommend in an industry like steel that they do to get the word out about them? What are the things that you would recommend they do? So, looking at it strictly from a revenue standpoint, I would probably go out and look at the data, right? I would go out and I would look at the competitors, who's following their competitors on Twitter, right? Because I think it's going to probably be a really small. Do you think the steel company's on Twitter? I don't even think they're on.
I mean,
be on there.
To be honest with you, I probably wouldn't even, if the data, I would look at the data. I always look at the data first, right? Yeah. So I would probably look at the hashtags. I would look at different key terms. I would look at the influencers, and I would say, okay, is there even enough quantity of people and buyers that this even makes sense?
Probably. I can almost assure you that it's a big no. But.
Well, I'm completely agreeing with you. It's like, but I also can say that, maybe not, right? There's different types of steel. There's
alloys.
I don't know much about steel, to be completely honest, but I'm sure that there's certain industries that steel ties into their product that probably have a big audience. I don't know, but I'm not a steel expert, but I can tell you that I'm not an expert in a lot of people's businesses. That's why I would never tell you that something works for your business, because if I don't know it and I don't have the data around it to tell me that it works, I'm not going to go out and proclaim that I've found the silver bullet, right?
I think that's probably the best answer, is that unless you look at the data, find out what your prospective customers are, that you really can't proclaim a social first strategy. And I would agree with Schaefer on this, that it's probably not a good idea to have a comprehensive content marketing strategy. Kind of differ with Mark a little bit. I think there's some content you can create. Maybe it's not a long-term type of thing, but you could help your salespeople or replace some salespeople if you get really smart about the content you're putting out, even if it's not on social media. It can be via email. It can be if you're shipping things on a DVD, whatever it is. You can ship that out to your customers to better educate them on what you're doing, how you're doing, and why you're the best supplier for them.
Well, I think you bring up one good point, and this is the shift that you're seeing in sales and marketing. Nobody cares about logos anymore. Nobody wants content from a logo. So the smartest thing you could probably do is to train your sales team how to use some of these different channels, the ones that have the data showing have the most amount of buyers on them, right? Because opening up a steel Twitter account with a brand logo on it, I don't know if any of you, but I probably would never follow that on social, no matter what the content was, right? So if you think about it, if there's enough data telling you that you should be on social, and here's the other thing is, maybe the data is telling you right now they're not, but I might look at that and go, that's a competitive advantage, right? I want to get my salespeople visible, valuable, and connected right now, because I know that in a year, even the laggards, the guy wearing jeans that just adopted email is not going to be able to do business. All the business and the technology is going to be moved over. Like you got all this. All the technology now that's going to be pretty much running robots and running machinery and all these different things, right? They're all going to be interconnected and tied into this technology, and that social is going to play a role. So maybe you can think proactively on it. But I would tell you, you got to drive revenue in your business. And if you have a failing business, the first things that have to be a priority are have the immediate impact and a short-term impact, and you really got to stay focused on doing that, or content marketing won't matter.
Yeah, I mean, the steel industry aside, I used to hear this from the construction industry. Oh, the construction industry, they're not on social media, they're not doing any of that stuff. Even if it's B2B, they are. Not everyone's not still, but there's enough of them on there where it makes sense to have some kind of social media strategy even for construction. Now, steel, I think, is still 5 to 10 years away, but if you want to get way ahead, maybe you do as Jack says and start looking at it now. I don't know enough about the steel industry to know whether it's a good idea or not,
but I also think you got to look at deal size, right? So if you're in the construction world, especially in the development, the building phase, if you get a project, it could be multi-millions of dollars, right? So you might not be on social to go out and to build a huge audience. You might have 4 or 5 different targets. So, using a content marketing strategy that only goes after those 4 or 5 projects that could be multi-million dollars, right? If you got one win on social, the investment would be well worth it, right?
Did we just flip positions? Because I was supposed to be the skeptic and you were supposed to be the pro.
No, because the difference is content marketing, is run by a marketing team, right? I mean,
But Mark's position is a steel company, that's the last thing they should worry about.
Well, what I think I got out of Mark's comments more than anything, I didn't look at the steel industry. What I looked at was that he was saying that there's, these gurus are out there saying that content, one of them was like, content works always, all the time for everyone. And that is just absolutely absurd. It's like you hear Snapchat. I'll tell you right now that I can tell you that Snapchat only works for 2% of people, and that's the people that are getting speaking engagements out of it, right?
Personal branders.
Yeah, I mean, there's no brands that are putting their names out there right now going, we're crushing it on Snapchat. It's not happening. There's no articles, there's nothing. There's 5 ways to do this, 5 ways to do that. This is why you should do it. Da, da, da. But there's no data and analytics around brands that are actually getting an ROI on it. There's a reason for that because nobody is, right? So if you're a brand and you want to do something like content marketing, you've got to go out and see what who's proved the model. And let's just use steel, for example. I mean, I would go look at my 5 top competitors. Are they doing content marketing? And if they're not, then it's probably not a good investment for us either, right?
Yeah.
Especially the ones that have bigger money than us.
Good point. Yeah.
So the content marketing was I think it was just the example, and the steel industry, but really it's about business value. It's about one size fits all, and as an agency, we have an obligation to go in, and I tell clients, there's many people I've turned away and said, you're not ready for social. Like, I just know that I'm gonna waste their time and their money, and they're gonna waste my time, which is essentially money, right? So we have an obligation in the marketing world as, especially people that are very visible and valuable to an audience that trusts us, that we have to say, I don't know what's good for your business, and we have to go in and we have to do a deep dive and really give them the best information rather than going out and just proclaiming that we have this silver bullet.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap things up with that. There's a lot of great stuff in there. I want to thank Jack for helping us, kind of decipher Mark's article and provide some more context around it. Thank you, Mark, for writing it. I thought it was very insightful and very thoughtful. And any last words?
No, great article, Mark. And I mean, let's be honest. Mark wrote a book called The Content Code, right?
Yeah.
So like, if anybody's going to be bashing content marketing, it wouldn't be Mark Schaefer if he didn't really truly believe it and know that there's business value behind saying that, right?